Hello and welcome to Real Menopause Talk. My guest today is Dr. Colette Haydon, who gives a supremely frank discussion about the reality of menopause for her and the need to be honest, especially when it comes to answering the question, how long does it last? At 64, she still has symptoms from time to time, so what does she do about it? She gives us a great explanation of how night sweats and disturbed sleep create anxieties and additional symptoms, and the crucial role of therapy for her in dealing with these anxieties when she felt she couldn't do so in her usual way. Having worked for some great brands for many years as a pharmacist and consultant, she then set up her own skincare range in her late 50s. She shares with us why your beloved moisturiser has stopped working and how to bring the joy and pleasure into your skincare routine. It's a moment with yourself, and it's just lovely. She shares the secret of beauty. As Colette says, therapy is for people who want to be well, with the emphasis on well. Feeling low all the time, not feeling like yourself, is not a way to live. Naming what is troubling you and having someone help you see it for what it is can change the way you feel completely. And this is why I am offering you Real Menopause Therapy, and for now, subscription is free. Sign up and enjoy half an hour for free as well. You get to handpick your therapist based on matching your health concerns, for example menopause, with their expertise, also menopause, your work environment, so they understand the unique pressures you face. Perhaps they used to work in your industry, or maybe they have small kids too. And even interests, from cave diving to coffee roasting, weightlifting to creative writing. So you find someone who really gets you. No obligation, no tie-in, just therapy that fits into your schedule and bring you back to the real and very fabulous you. Go to bit.ly/RM therapy now. That's bit.ly/RM therapy, capital R, capital M, capital T, now. And it's the moment you've been waiting for. Here's Colette. Dr. Colette Haydon, it is a delight to meet you. Thank you very much for joining me today. Would you like to start by telling everybody a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your family, to get an idea of who you are?
Well, Hattie, it's equally a pleasure to meet you and do this podcast with you. Well, I'm French, as you can hear. So I was born, in fact, in the Jura, which is a small mountain region very close to the Alps. So I was very much born in the countryside, and I think the last generation of children who went skiing to school.
Oh, wow.
Yes, an envy of a lot of people. I studied in Lyon. I studied pharmacy. I'm a doctor in dermopharmacy, which means that I'm a pharmacist specializing in all products that have to do with the skin. I've been in England for 40 years now. So pretty much after my studies, I moved to England for love. My husband is English. And 40 years ago. So pretty much all my working life has been done in England.
Do you miss anything about France, or are you there regularly enough to enjoy both?
Like everybody in England, I suffer from I find the weather difficult. And although the food has improved in England, I miss the food terribly. But apart from that, there's something I often say. English people, if they didn't exist, should be invented. I adore English people. I find them wonderful.
Well, the feeling is mutual. France has a very special place in my heart.
But I find the much more difficult than the English. I say, the French are, I can say so myself, pompous, pretentious, and obnoxious.
And I love them for it.
But they do it with charm.
And style.
And
Absolutely.
style. Exactly.
Whereabouts are you in terms of perimenopause or menopause?
Aha, well, that's an interesting one. Now we're going to talk about menopause today. Well, post. I'm going to be 64 on my next birthday on the 31st of March.
Well, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you very much, Hattie. So I would say that, well past it, but that is interesting in itself. So I started to be perimenopausal, shall we say. I don't quite completely remember now, but I would say maybe 48, 49, which
Mm-hmm.
a common age. I would say well aware that some women start well before and some women start a lot after. But I would say 48, 49 is probably a very good average, you know? It was still at a time. So we're talking of 15 years ago, Hattie, really.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Since okay. So it was still a time where menopause, it's wonderful. First of all, I want to say that even you doing podcasts discussing menopause, I can tell you that 15 years ago, it very much existed, you know, menopause.
Of
But
course.
we didn't speak about it really. It was just, not only you would not speak about it with the population at large, but even menopausal women between themselves didn't speak about it a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember asking other women that seemed to me way older than me, therefore having gone over menopause. And my question to them was, how long does it last? And never receiving the answer. Okay. And I think that I have the same problem now. When a younger woman than myself approach me and tell me, well, Colette, how long did it last? It's hard to tell them, but I think we have to because now
Yeah.
we are openly talking of menopause. I still have symptoms now. Menopause is not an illness that
No. Mm-hmm.
you don't have it, then you have it, and then you don't have it anymore. My expertise is the skin. I could not tell you, oh, well, oh dear, your skin is going to be terrible. There's going to be this problem. But don't worry, darling, because the menopause will end. This phase called menopause will end and all will come back to normal. It doesn't. And it reminds me, my daughters had a son not long ago. And that is not connected with menopause, but it's a bit the same thing. It's like I find that women don't speak enough with each other about childbirth. And it's a bit the same thing. And so she had the baby, decided to have an epidural. And then afterwards she said, how was it, the epidural for you? She tells me. Well, I said, Roxanne, I've had you and your brother without an epidural. She says, why you didn't tell me you didn't have an epidural? I would have chosen not to have one. I think women have this immense worry to tell other women about childbirth because you don't want to worry the others.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same about menopause. You don't dare, because actually out of kindness, you don't dare when you're approached by a woman, how was it for you? Was it very bad? Because particularly this question, how long it's going to last? Because the answer they want, a few months, darling, and you're going to be fine. And it is not like that. And I think they need to be this more open discussion. I would say for me now, I had these terrible symptoms, not so much perhaps when I was perimenopausal, but at the sort of beginning of menopause, it's very difficult to decide what is before, during, and after. Essentially hot flashes that were terrible. But I would say that it's an adjustment that you have to make to your life, to yourself, to embrace and not imagine it's going to stop. To me, it's terribly important. That's the most important thing, because what can bring another sort of symptoms, more emotional, I would say, apart from the physical symptom, is if you have this idea in your mind that it is going to stop. It is not. And I think it is best to realize that and just live with it rather than expecting that you can brush it under the carpet.
So you mentioned hot flashes.
Yes.
What other symptoms did you experience and what has continued for you?
Right. The hot flashes were pretty terrible for me, but initially they were during the day. I didn't have initially what you call night sweat. Again, that's another thing with definition. Not only I think hot flashes are perceived as the one that you have during the day and obviously night sweat in the night, but they're not quite the same. Hot flashes, I would say, are frequent, intense, and very brief, whilst night sweat, they're just perhaps less intense, but more lasting to an extent where you wake up in the night and you can't go back to sleep, really. So it was more the hot flashes, but followed by the night sweat now. So I'm pleased to report that I hardly suffer at all anymore from hot flashes, but I still suffer from night sweat. I need to explain as well that because it's important to relate to the symptom to what I did about it. I didn't take HRT. I'm not against HRT. It's a personal choice. I think here I would maybe say that you need to remember my background. I'm a pharmacist. It is very classic for pharmacists to take very, very, very few drugs. Maybe there's misconception that the pharmacists having access to all these remedies are going to take one after the other. And I suppose we're so aware and trained to understand contraindication, side effects, etc., that I think we're probably a breed of people that are very, very wary about medications. So I didn't take HRT, but I did take herbal remedies that did help me with the hot flashes. It's not perfect, but here I would give an advice that is not just for menopause, but for any physical symptoms or emotional symptoms that you may have, menopause and others. If you can find something, would it be a remedy? Like I said, I chose herbal remedies, but it could be a non-herbal remedies, or it could be therapy, emotional support. I'll come back on therapy, which I did do as well. I think that it's perhaps good to understand that whatever you do is not going to give you a 100% success result.
Exactly.
But I think, and again, it's not about discussing statistic, but I would say that if you perceive what you feel that is very difficult for you, physical or emotional or both, if you put it on a little scale and you say that from 0 till 10, that you feel you're at 9, it's horrible, and you're at 9 or even at 10. If you can improve it and to be, say, at 6, our brain, our positiveness to feel this improvement can easily bring us to 4.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are at 4, we can cope very well with many things. And this is my advice.
I think that's wonderful advice because it does boil it all down to perspective as well and experience.
Exactly.
And improvements are always going to be good.
Yes. But also, I would say that apart from, so would it be HRT or herbal remedies, whatever you choose, there are also emotional implications to menopause. I would say that it is not that at the age of 50 you wish to get pregnant and have a child. Or if you do, I would say this is fairly unusual. But it is the end of which you can perceive as your reproductive use, and it can be extremely difficult emotionally as well. The physical symptoms can in turn give you emotional symptoms. With the night sweat, a lot later, that's what happened to me. So the night sweat wake you up in the middle of the night. If you can go back to sleep straight away, it's okay. But if you can't, you stay awake. When you stay awake, dark thoughts, I think you say dark thoughts in English, you
Yes.
start to have this very specific night anxiety. But also just the sheer fact that you're waking up, it disturbs your sleep. I'm not a sleep expert. I'm a skin expert, but your sleep pattern. And I think that it prevents you to have this cycle where you dream and evacuate those thoughts through dreaming. And you almost wake up in the morning with a package of anxieties that have not been dealt with. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but for me, this is another thing later that happened to me. I'd had therapy when I was younger. So I decided to go back in therapy, which I did for about a year and a half. My therapist was wonderful, was not a role to help me with physical symptoms, but more to help me through the anxieties that I could perhaps not deal anymore in a normal way. That's my
Fantastic.
experience.
Wow. No, it's always so interesting to hear because whilst there are many common threads, it is a very individual experience for each woman. Is your daughter feeling prepared for what might come? I mean, if she's just had a baby, then I'm sure all her focus is on that.
No, it's not. This is why I was giving the example of childbirth, that I regret that I didn't tell her more about childbirth, because she herself tell me afterward, why you didn't really tell me much how it was for you. And like I said, I didn't because my daughter is 33. I just thought, and that's another funny thing, I just thought that, gosh, things have changed so much with childbirth that whatever I would say would not be current.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's a bit older, I hope I'm not that silly, and I would tell her more about menopause. And so I think it's the courage to, next time a woman perimenopausal approach me and ask me this terrible question, how long does it last? Is the bravery to reply, actually a long time. So let's discuss the options.
Yes, but therein lies the joy of it.
I'm not brush it on the carpet. Well, it's a bit terrible, but only for a few months. Don't worry. It's just, well, depends. But for these symptoms, there is this option. For this
Yes.
one, that option. And I think that like I said, to me, we tend to limit the options to HRT, herbal remedies. And I think we forget the role of mental health support through,
Mm-hmm.
through therapy. But again, it's a personal choice. A bit like with menopause, there are it is changing, but there are still a number of people that would think that therapy are for people who are mentally unwell. And I would say therapy are for people who want to be mentally well.
I agree. I honestly think everybody can see a therapist and benefit. You don't have to have a problem, even just unburdening day to day on somebody who's completely unattached emotionally to you.
At the time of your life, it's not about having therapy all the time, but if you feel that you're suffering from anxiety, and we're all anxious. Anxiety in human being is part of our survival instinct. If we don't worry about anything, we are actually in trouble because we don't have this survival mechanism in place,
Mm-hmm.
or empathy. But in yourself when your level of anxiety is above normal. Like it's above normal is not the right word, but above a level where you cannot function.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. How about your skin? How was your skin throughout that period of your life, and how is it now? How has it changed?
I'm very interested in skin. So again, I'm terrible because I love skincare. It's my passion, but a bit like HRT, as you have gathered, I'm not an interventionist. I love my skincare. Like I said, it's my life, my passion and my job. But I didn't do a Botox injection, nothing at all. I do think that some of the sort of mottos for Elixir Skin really, that it's not about perfection. It's never for me about counting the wrinkles. You know, you can have a good skin. In fact, there are 3 products that we have that are the core of the brand that we call the Good Skin Trio. It's never about perfection, no wrinkle, etc., etc. It's about a good, healthy skin, the best skin you can have for your age. And like I said, I'm going to be 64, and I just have a good
You have
skin,
great
and I
skin.
think I'm beautiful. Do you know the secret of beauty? The secret of beauty is which I give to all women, because you know the puberty is also terrible. It's also a terrible time where they all think they're ugly, you know. And I said, you know, the secret of beauty is to go to bed one night and to decide that you're going to wake up beautiful the next morning. That's what I did. And I've never found anybody who dare contradict. And I still think I'm beautiful. And that's where I'm very French and pretentious, but with charm.
I think that is wonderful.
You can be beautiful.
There is no question about it. With Lixia Skin, how did you decide to set it up for yourself?
Right. I'm quite well known in the industry because I've been a consultant developing those marvelous products for a lot of brands for a long time, still in the same laboratory where I am today. In particular, I developed all the products for Ren Skincare, and I was privileged to be a minority shareholder and director of the business. And the company was sold, I think, six years ago. I can't remember quite. So I came to a little money. I just thought, okay, well, I'll help both my children with the purchase of their first property in London. And then I thought, what shall I do for myself? And really, I didn't really want, I'm not into very, very expensive jewelry or cars. And really, it was the dream of my life. So this is how I started Lixia Skin, and I had a little money to do it.
The packaging is divine.
Thank you very much.
If you've lived in London for 40 years, then you may remember the original Agent Provocateur shop.
Of course I do. Yes.
In Soho. I used to visit that when I worked in Soho for 10, 15 years. Very regularly. It was my happy place. And the colours, the pink and the black, just always scream glamour and gorgeousness.
It's like I say, the pink that I wanted to me is not pink, is flesh. The inspiration is, I see exactly what you mean with Agent Provocateur, but also to me with the sort of vintage lingerie that, you know, even the suspenders in the 30s really had that color. But to me, another inspiration, another passion of my life is the ballet. So I did a lot of ballet when I was young, and I still like to go. I take my granddaughter. I think it's a wonderful experience, and it's also the chausson, the tight, not the tutu because they're normally white, but you know, the sort of the ribbons for the répéto chausson, and that these are very much also in the same, very, very feminine, basically.
They are just so beautiful.
Yes,
and
yes.
It all ties in my mind, and I'm sure many other people's, with the way that French women have a reputation for being just effortlessly glamorous. And age is a big conversation part of the menopause, or maybe actually the other way around. Menopause is only a part of the bigger conversation around age. and French women carry off growing older with sophistication and style and appeal. What do you think of that?
My first thing to say is thank you. It's hard for me to judge that because I am French, but I see what you mean. I think that we define the French women very much as effortless. When an English woman is beautiful, she's really the true beauty, much more than the French. And just to compare the two, I think we're perhaps more daring with what we wear. We're perhaps more confident. Mm-hmm. We have this difficult to define, this sense of the overall. For me, a couple or more wrinkle don't matter. I'm not going to necessarily worry about this detail of my bottom, this detail of my breast, this detail of this detail of that. Is it okay for me to wear this? Or is this okay for me to wear that? I still have very, very, it's a podcast so people won't see, but very, very long hair, which is unusual for a woman of my age. Who cares? And I think this is why we carry it off, we pull it through sort of thing. And I think this is perhaps because of it's about the overall perception of who we are rather than to be too concentrated on each very little detail.
I'm going to have to take that and consider all of that because it's what I aspire to. I want to have the confidence in myself and growing up. I mean, I had hoped I would have grown up by now. It's a work in progress, but to grow into myself is something that seems to be a theme. We all feel that we reach a certain age and we become more confident in ourselves. But to dispel the aging and embrace it, wrinkles and all, that's a knack.
If you are confident, it's also the confidence to carry on caring for yourself. It's about not giving up. It's about remaining sexy at all ages.
Yes.
And I feel that women throughout their life, sort of, typically, I was very, very unconfident as young women during puberty and after. And then they gradually gain confidence. And I feel just carry on gaining confidence. What should give you this idea that suddenly, and this is the emotional trauma of menopause as well, to give you this idea that now you have menopause. So this is the very beginning of aging. And then this is no point, there's no point to try. There's no point to wear makeup, to wear beautiful clothes, etc. No, carry on.
Particularly because it does give you pleasure, but it can lift your spirits as well.
It lifts your spirit, absolutely. That is also part of skincare as well. It's the pleasure to look after yourself. Every night when I cleanse my skin, it's pleasurable. Every morning when I apply my moisturiser, it's pleasurable. It's a moment with yourself. So it's just lovely.
What are your best skin tips for a midlife woman and beyond?
Right. So I just think, so we've just launched this product. We're very much a minimalist brand. We don't have many products, and it's about, I feel as well. So I was talking to you about our Good Skin Trio, because simply I feel that all women of all ages, of all skin colors and all different skin types, and in fact, I will include men here. Do you know that men love pink as well, actually? The misconception that they don't. I just thought, gosh, my packaging is not going to work for guys. You will be surprised. That, in fact, we all share the same basic needs. And for these needs, I just like to keep things simple. For me, when I say, I'm a formulator at heart, a good formula does it all. But when it comes to skin concerns, then we have what we call our night switch. night switch. It's a little joke on the fact that like the night switch, that you use them at night, but also because we have this unusual concept of skin switching. I feel here again with my minimalist approach that it's best to ask the skin to do one thing at a time and to do it well. So I do not propose that you use all these different boosters and serum all at the same time, and not because the skin is like us. It has only limited energy. That is very important to understand with the skin, and it's going to prioritize. So if I, for example, give you 10 jobs to do in the morning and I come back in the evening and check what you've done, you've run like a headless chicken, but you've not achieved anything. The skin is the same. So it is best to concentrate on one task, do it well. So what we do, so we propose that you would use a night switch for a few weeks, say 4 weeks, for retinol, for example. And then another very important thing to do is to give your skin a rest, where you're only using moisturizer at night, because the skin needs to rest to reset as well, and then use something else. So for menopause, as we're talking, we've just launched our night switch phytoestrogen and peptide specifically for menopausal skin, for perimenopausal skin, during menopause and post-menopause. Again, how do you define what is before, during and after? I don't think that you need a specific all routine that suddenly, oh gosh, I have menopause, so I must bin and ditch everything that I was using that I loved so much. It's completely ridiculous. You do not need a specific cleanser. You do not need a specific moisturizer. If there is a beloved face oil and serum that you adore, absolutely. But consider that you can use a specific booster at night and a phytoestrogen, sorry, I tend to pronouncing the French way, and a collagen peptide that are specifically designed to treat the very, very specific type of aging that the skin suffers during menopause, which is to become thinner. It's not so much just like the deep wrinkle that starts develop at any age, but more when your skin is that the skin that is crepey. That do you know, that is those tiny, but lots of them, little wrinkle rather than the deep wrinkles. And that is because your skin produces less collagen, so the dermis becomes thinner and thinner. There's no support for the surface, and you get this little bumpy skin that we don't like. And the phytoestrogen and peptide work well for that.
One of the things that comes up time and time again is the fact that, yes, people might have their beloved moisturizers, but they stop working because they're not strong enough, or they're not rich enough, or they just don't have the same effect as they used to. So doing the rotation, or adding in a retinol for a period of time and then only a moisturizer, does that help?
Yes. The same with our night switch phytoestrogen and peptide. You would also use it for 4 weeks, stop, and use something else. So the perfect routine is to use phytoestrogen for 4 weeks, stop for a few days, and then use retinol. Stop for a few days again and reuse phytoestrogen. That is because your skin also not only has limited energy, but also gets bored. And it is the best way that I can describe it. So the way active ingredients work on the skin is by stimulating receptors on the membrane on the skin of the skin cells. So if the skin cells are bombarded all the time with the same active, we reach what we call the plateau effect, and then it stops doing anything. So it is good to use it for a while, stop, use something else, and come back to it. I know that because very often when that happens, there's a consumer, they've bought one of our products or one I formulated, and they say, gosh, I bought this fabulous serum. The first bottle was fabulous. So I bought it again, and I think they must have changed the formula because my second bottle didn't work so well. No, the brand are not always responsible and terrible people and have cheapened the formula, but quite simply, skin has reached the plateau effect, and what seems wonderful doesn't work anymore. I often say as well, if it was good enough to use retinol all the time, not to have wrinkle, nobody would have wrinkle. I would not have any. The proof is in the pudding. I still have some. So, and it's the same. It will be exactly the same with phytoestrogen and peptide. It would be so wonderful if I could tell you, use that every night, all the time, and you absolutely not going to have crepey skin. It sadly doesn't work that way. It is not a miracle, but it works well and it will improve your skin. We also have the consumers. When I say one pump is enough, they think, oh, maybe if I use 3, you're just going to spend more money and it's not going to work better.
One final thing, Colette. I feel that joy in life is essential and something that we need more of, particularly in midlife when you might be looking after younger children and older parents and the daily grind.
Yes.
What gives you pleasure and joy in your life?
My grandchildren. My grandchildren. That's the thing, because we've been talking of menopause. With menopause starts to come an age where it's wonderful, grandchildren, because you're not responsible for their education. And it's just an immense pleasure to have these children around you. It's an absolute joy.
Oh, that is just gorgeous. Is there anything that you would like to add?
That it was my absolute pleasure to speak with you this afternoon.
Oh, well, you are lovely. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Alors, they can find our product on our website at lixiaskin.co.uk, or they can go on the website or in stores at Liberties, Harrods, John Lewis, and many others, Sephora, etc.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Hattie.
You can find Colette on Instagram at lixiaskin and her website lixiaskin.co.uk, and all her beautiful products at Sephora, Liberty, Harrods, John Lewis, Selfridges, and many more. Just look it up on the internet. And a final note on Real Menopause Therapy, subscription is currently free and sign up is obligation free as well. Have a look around and see how it works at bit.ly/RM therapy. That's bit.ly/RM therapy, capital R, capital M, capital T. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.